Make sure you can see. Can you see? Yeah. Hi. Hey, how you doing? Can you see in there? Yeah, I think you're all right. So again, I'm not going to go too crazy at the moment, but I just wanted to start shaping things up so I could get to work on the sheet metal for the seat pan. So what I want to do is I want to get this line right here up against my front floorboard. I'm going to make a mark so I know that I need to break it, 3/8 of an inch or half an inch or whatever I need to break it to create that lip to tuck it down in between. So I'm going to grab a marker. I'm not going to bend that line yet. I'm just going to move it forward some. But I am going to cut that. Now again, you guys are watching me learn. It's going to slide forwards just a touch. Just inside where the inside edge of the frame rail is. So I know this will tuck in. And then I can kind of see how far to slide it forwards because it's showing me where the edge of this front piece of sheet metal is. So now I'm going to kind of cut things back to get my overall dimension. I am going to make this in several pieces, but then try to make it, actually create it out of one piece of sheet metal when the time comes. So it's going to be flat to here. So my cross member, one of my other little sub rails that I built is right here. My frame rail, see where I'm breaking the edge, it's roughly here. So what I'm going to do is up until this point right here, before the seat pan starts diving down, I'm going to cut this and end it right there. I'm going to remove this excess because I won't need it. Hopefully you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. So my cross member's here. This is the front edge of it. My frame rail. So I'm going to go so there. Remove that so I can bend it down. I need to start figuring out where I'm going to make my cuts and my bends. Back edge of this cross member here, the sub rail, I made a slice here because this metal is going to get pulled when I push the floor pan down to get it to set down in the well. I'm going to find my inside corner, which is here. Same thing. I'm going to cut that. You can see just relieving that little bit makes a big difference. And just kind of slowly shape it. Start to get it to set down. Try not to get my pants dirty. I've never been too good at that. Alright, so I made my measurements from this cross member here to the very inside bottom edge of the rear of the seat bottom. I made my measurements from here on my template up on both sides. Scribe my mark. Now what I'm going to do is measure from the inside to the transmission to the drive shaft tunnel on both sides, and then I'm going to measure the height and then cut out this half circle it'll go here, and then measure the height from here to here, make that line here, and then just start making bends and cuts on my paper, and hopefully things will start laying in. So where this is going to end up falling is back here, and I want to go, call it 4.5 inches. If I were to take this and run it down, yep, 4.5 inches. Alright. So I'm actually going to cut that now just to remove some of the excess material to make it easier to work with. Make the razor knives easier. So now what I want to do is I want to make this break. I want to bend that material at that line. But first I'm going to make some cuts. I want to make my cut. And I'll do it on the passenger side so you can see it. A lot of running around. I want to make 45-degree cut, and in this corner here, overlap these pieces to get them to sit down in where they're going to go. I'll do the same on the driver's side. At the very bottom, I haven't made the break for it to come back up the back, but I have I'll be able to kind of figure out exactly where the transmission tunnel or the drive shaft tunnel is now. I want to find my inside corner. Cut it across. I'm just going to cut it right up the middle so this board can kind of do what it needs to do. And I'll just fold it back afterwards the other way. I at least want to get that nice break. Like I said, now that it's broke, it'll just fold right back the other direction. Again, just to kind of get it so it'll sit down in place. And I can kind of just push it in place with my fingers. I'm obviously going to have some flanges to build on the edge of this drive shaft hoop, but this will get me close to where I need to be so I can at least get the metal, start to get the metal shaped. Tuck this in a little further back, test it down some. My blade's a little dull, I guess. But alright, so next is going to be to break this line going down on an angle for the edge of my seat on the inside of my frame rail. Just break it around this ruler. want to cut some of this excess off. But I want to go a little high because I want the metal to wrap over the top of the frame rail to tie everything in. So I need to make, I don't want to kneel down because I don't want to get my pants dirty. I'm going to get my inside corner here. Like that. I'm going to cut it right in the 45 in the corner. I don't want to cut this, but I want to cut it back about a ½ inch so I can give myself some room to make a flange. I've got a little bit of wiggle room if I break a bend on the back side of that. This is the brake for the top of my frame rail. And that's more or less what it's going to look like, at least on the passenger side. Now obviously this is going to have to get cut out because of my drive shaft. So I'll build another piece here. This will get cut out and I'll put flanges on this piece to weld it to the floor pan. I'm at least getting the very bottom portion set where it needs to be. I'm not exactly 100% on this area right here, but I think I'm pretty close. Close enough that it'll get me to where I need to be. So I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did, except on the driver's side. So then what I need to do is I need to slice it there so I'm able to bend it over the frame rail. Now I am going to make fillers to go to the quarter, but I'm not going to do that with the seat pan just because this is already going to be complex enough. I don't want to make my life harder than it's already going to be. Alright, so that's what the main seat pan is going to look like for the floor. I'm going to build the little hoop that goes over the drive shaft right now. So I'm going to remove I'm not going to remove the cardboard yet that goes underneath it, just to kind of help me build it. It has some little bit of extra integrity there. So I'm going to shape up a piece of this ram board and get that built also and get it taped in place where it's going to be. Alright, so I got a square edge to start with. I'm going to start on the driver's side. What I want to do is I want to break this. I want to make a 1-inch break. So you have to, I guess, make it like a cone shaped almost. So it's been a while since I've done this. It's kind of tricky if you've never done it, and I've only done it once. And I basically did the same thing I did then that I'm doing now. It's just kind of figuring it out, you know. So my middle is there. That's tucked in there. My middle mark is here. So in a perfect world, if I were to take this mark here and this mark here, bend it, I should, again, in a perfect world, be able to trace what I have, make my marks for where my brake needs to be. So besides doing a little bit of work in the front, shrinking and stretching and all that stuff, I want this to be flattened, so I'm going to have to shrink this down here in the front. So this is going to get cut out. Oh. Here. think I actually need to make it a little bit smaller because it's a little bit high off the drive shaft loop. Yeah, I think I need to shrink it down about a ½ inch. At least in the back. At least ½ inch. Closer to an inch. Yeah. It's fitting better. It's a little bit of shrinking and stretching on the metal. It should go and sit how I need it to. So you can really see what the floor is going to look like. I'm going to mimic the bead rolling on the front portion of the floorboards. Real simple, just a little bit to add some strength. You got these these ones going forwards, and then there's just one across the back. So I'll do one across the back here. Probably do another one going across this way, and then like 3 vertical, or going straight back, not vertical. But 3 going this way. Nothing as long as I can fit it in my English wheel. I mean, I'm sorry, not the English wheel, in the bead roller. I'm hoping I don't have to cut this in half, but if I have to, it's really not the end of the world. You'll just see a little seam right here in the front of the seat. The seat hangs over probably about, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches off the front. But like I said, all in all, this is what I was hoping to get done before I left this morning. Alright guys, I'm working with a new camera. I went this morning and picked up a new camera, new to me. Hopefully the videos will be a little bit different. And by that I mean not so close up in your face like I have been. The camera that I was using before, I had purchased because they're somewhat inexpensive. It's just a Canon, but they have a nice flip around screen, so it's good for doing videos. You can see yourself. But the problem with this camera is the view on the angle of the lens isn't wide enough. So in order for me to get like a shot set further back, I really have to put the camera real far back. And unfortunately, looking at my shop, it may look big on camera, but by the time you add all the tools and the equipment and everything with the car in the middle, I really had some limitations with it because of the angle of the lens. And unfortunately with a camera like this, you don't have the option for different lenses, I don't believe. Really good camera to use, and I'll definitely be using this when I'm out and about doing different things like picking and whatnot. Because again, it's just a convenient camera. It's small, just fit it in the palm of your hand. But as far as the garage goes, I wanted something a little more high-end, something like I said I could have a little bit wider of an angle. So that being said, I'll take you over to what I was working on earlier. This is the seat pan, or what will soon be the seat pan. So I shaped this up this morning before I went to go grab this particular camera now that I'm holding. So my plans is to make this seat pan in one piece and then make the tunnel for the drive shaft in an individual piece, piece number 2. So what I think I'm going to do is I may just start building a template for the bulkhead, the back side of the bulkhead, the seat area, you know, where the back of the seat's going to go. I do want to cover that with sheet metal, and then also the top of the bulkhead. I'm going to get to work on just laying out the top and bottom, the top and the front of the seat, back, and then the bulkhead. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm working on template for the seat back. I cut this edge with a straight edge, and what I want to do is just set this on the top edge of the frame rail. I want to get it taped in place so it doesn't move around. I'm just trying to get this to stay in place because it is a little tall on this end, and I want to make a mark on the back side of this ram board. Now I don't know if this is how the pros do it, but I'll tell you what, this is how the amateurs do it, or at least this one. I don't know as if my knife is sharp enough. By golly, it did it. Now I know they didn't have ram board in this crap back in the day, so I have to assume they either used paper or cardboard. I don't know what the other options were back in the 50s or 60s, or they just cut stuff and hoped for the best. I don't know. This edge is the factory edge from the roll itself. So I want to retain this factory edge. So what I'm going to do is just kind of do this by measuring, I think. So I'm going to measure on my center bar. Let's measure the middle first. That's my center mark. My interior panel is going to come down here. I don't have any wood in the car, so my interior panel is roughly going to be somewhere in that vicinity. But I can't build this filler until I know exactly what it is I'm going to do with this piece. I could just make a measurement from here to where this is straight back, and then a measurement from here to here minus, let's say, 1/4 of an inch, and then just have this go straight down and have this filler panel fill. So I'll do that. Let me make some quick measurements. See, again, this is just me figuring it out as I go. So that's 5 inches on the money. That is 3.5. So 5 inches to 3.5 inches. And hopefully that side's the same. Yeah, 3 and 3/8. So it's off by about 1/8 of an inch, which in hot rod world isn't that bad. Set these in place and see how they look. So you can see it just sets back just a touch. The seat will be up here. I still have to do up on top of the package tray, but now I can kind of have an idea of where it needs to go. This is actually going to be just a touch higher. It'll be up here at this level. So we'll just have to make have to make that little bit of an adjustment. Package tray will come right over the whole top. We'll tie back here around the deck lid hinges, and then my interior panel will come down and fill this around underneath the rear window and the quarter glass. So that will probably be sometime down the road, but I at least need to keep things separated from the cabin of the car. And like I had said, that's where I'm at the moment. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm gonna hold this edge right here at the front. I could, if I wanted to, break that 1/2 inch, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna assume that 1/2 inch is there. I'm gonna hold it up against the wood where I want my interior panel to go. And then I'm gonna just try to I'm just more or less gonna try to trace the contour of the back of the car. So it might take a little bit of fine tuning. But again, the panel that comes down from the roof is actually going to cover that. So what I need to do now is over this area where this little filler piece sets back, I need to measure back 1 inch, because 1 inch is the thickness of this material. I'm just guessing here. I'm just going to break that like that, and this panel should fit right down over and tie into this filler panel on the edge of the seat between the body of the car and the seat. Now this stuff's just a little curled from being in a roll for who knows how long, so it's not sitting perfect. And then, like I had said, plus 0.5 inch here. And that should be good. So I'll need to do one of these for this end and one of these for the other end on the car. So this will essentially be the template. Once I get my sheet metal all laid out, or I can create the whole thing with this ram board. I'll cut another piece and I'll just use this panel here for the driver's side. Right, so I should be able to flip this over, bend this down that way, and that should fit just like that. And it does. So that is how I'm going to lay out at least the top of the bulkhead. And then what I'll have to do is I will have to work my way around the deck lid hinges. So I'm going to make some measurements to figure out exactly where my deck lid hinges reside. So I have that, and then I'm going to measure from my center roughly 12 inches. Again, I want to make sure if I ever need to move these, I can without dismantling the whole car. Now let's see if it fits. What do you think? Think it's gonna fit? I don't know. Could I get that lucky? Kind of got the mirror in the way in the car, but that's kind of the best I can do at the moment. Alright, so I already see the first issue is it's gonna hit the quarter window. So it's just a little bit too long. I'm going to take off 1/4 of an inch off of each side and see where I'm at. Not only will I be able to use this for my sheet metal, I might be able to use it for my upholstery template too. I don't know. I've never done upholstery, so I don't exactly know the differences. So start with 1/4 and then get around the radius of the back corner of the roof. And then I kind of just cut it to nothing. Okay everyone, I'm going to put the camera down and say my goodbyes. So that's it for right now, at least. It's still early. It's early in the day on Tuesday. I have to run out, do a few errands. So I'll be back to hopefully later on this afternoon to start working on the actual sheet metal itself for the toe board and the floors. So thanks everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.